10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Warning. Viewer listener discretion is advised. The majority of the content of this program is not fact-checked. It is highly advised that it not be used for teaching your children from said content, other than making an example out of the hosts of what they should not grow up to be. Remember this. It's the beer talking.
Demonology is a science of demons and their actions. The word demon is Greek and simply means a supernatural being or a lesser divinity. In classical ancient Greece, demones were perceived as guardian spirits or as either good or evil spirits who try to influence the human psyche. However, in Christian theology, demons were always considered evil, whereas angels were thought to serve as God's messengers or agents. Since the evil spirits were conceived as being masters of deception, an elaborate procedure of evaluation, the discernment of spirits, was deemed necessary. This produced a science of angels, angelology, distinct from demonology. Theologically, demonology was based upon numerous references in the Bible, both in the ancient Jewish tradition and in the New Testament. The belief in spirit beings was fairly universal, as was a belief in related phenomena such as inspiration, spirit possession, and the struggle against possession by exorcism. Archaic religious systems such as shamanism were based on communication with spirits or spirit helpers. Inspiration was an important aspect of Christianity and still is, as the Feast of Pentecost indicates. To the dismay of the authorities, indigenous prophets continued to emerge from all corners of Europe, and various forms of spiritualism and prophecy remained part of the European everyday life. Between 1500 and 1660, the medieval concept of demonology remained largely intact. It was shaped by St. Augustine's idea that the interactions between demons and humans were based on a contract, either explicit or implicit. This assumption was inspired by Roman law, which viewed contracts as being mutually binding agreements.
Very nice, Keith.
Right?
Yeah.
I like that.
You did a good job on that.
Sorry for my pronunciation on some of that, but hey,
Yeah. Well, you did a better job than I could.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Beg to differ on that one. But, hey.
I don't know. I'm just super excited.
I know. Me too. Welcome, everybody, to Paranormal Talk.
Yeah. That's right. This is Paranormal Talk. Hey.
How you doing, Jeff?
I think
good. How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Right on. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you good.
Yep.
Make sure my mic level is good.
Since we always traditionally have our brew at the beginning.
Your segment, yep.
We're going to go right to it. Because we've got so much to cover tonight. It's
right on.
So what are we drinking tonight there, Jeff?
We are drinking a beer from Belching Beaver. We already did the peanut butter milk stout. This one is Deftones Phantom Bride IPA. So the band Deftones, if you're familiar with them, this is one of 6 different signature beers they've done with Belching Beaver. So pretty cool. Chino Moreno, the lead singer of Deftones, is a huge beer fan. And so it's kind of his idea to partner with the brewery, so they were the ones to do it. It's just your standard IPA, so let's go ahead and just crack it and start drinking. Nothing fancy.
This is probably the closest we could get to a groundhog, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is Groundhog
It is
Day.
Groundhog Day, and it was in the 80s today here in the Phoenix area.
Nice.
It snowed 3 days ago.
Yeah, craziness.
Yeah.
So there was a groundhog beer that we came across online, but neither of us could get it. So
Couldn't find it.
So the dead beaver has to work for us.
It's a cool can. I really like the can.
He'll be picked up in the K2 and then he'll run off. And,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, spring will happen soon enough.
Yeah.
I hope.
That's funny.
So this is your.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, or maybe an SLS would pick him up.
Running away.
Watch him running away. Yeah. Okay.
never know.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yep. So it's a fairly straightforward IPA. A little bit more citrus forward than some of the other ones, but it's nothing like a juicy or a hazy, anything like that. Just a
It is unfiltered, though.
delicious IPA. I don't know if they consider it unfiltered, but yeah, there's clearly some cloudiness to it, though. But anyway, cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Oh. Well, that is good. Definitely tasting.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, that's what an IPA should taste like. I love that.
Mm.
It's kind of got that West Coast style IPA, but like I say, a little something unique going on with the hops.
7.1
7.1,
ABV.
7.1. And I don't think they list the IBUs, but I want to say they are 55 IBUs. It's not too hoppy. There's not a ton of bitterness there. You get a lot of, like I say, that really just good floral,
crisp,
citrusy. Yeah, a nice crisp flavor out of those hops, but not so much of the bitterness.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's not bad.
But still definitely tastes like an IPA. Yeah. So, and what's cool is the, like I say, there's one of 6 beers that Deftones has done with these guys. And it's Deftones guy who does the artwork for all of their albums is actually the guy who designed the can as well. So Belching Beaver said, basically, yeah, we'll let your guy do the artwork for it. You just have to include a beaver in there somehow.
That's cool.
With the beaver skull, the kind of that sugar skull look to it.
Right.
I guess if it wasn't for the teeth, it could probably pass as a groundhog.
Probably.
Skeleton.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
What?
I heard myself disappear.
Oh.
Yeah, but again, so Belching Beaver, they're out of Oceanside, California. They do a lot of just really cool beer. They're one of those breweries that gets really experimental. They have like a sake style beer. They do really cool sours. They do your stouts. They do special releases. Obviously, stuff with Deftones. I mean, it's a little of everything. It's definitely a brewery. Next time I'm in Southern California, I'm gonna stop by there because I would love to get a flight of all their different stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. I would like to try more.
Yeah, we'll have to entertain some more Belching Beaver on the road.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a fun name.
This is a fun name. Oh, the other one we did, the milk stout was
the
really
milk
good,
stout
too.
was really good.
Yeah, they did good on that one. So, but yeah, I know you guys got a lot of show ahead of you, so I'm not going to keep you too long. Like I say, fortunately, this one it's a fantastic beer, but it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing. The most unique thing is the fact that Deftones genuinely, and that's one thing I will. I'm a fan of Deftones anyway, so I kind of have a bias toward them, but they really did actually help kind of create the beer. Especially Chino, who's the one that he's a big IPA guy as well. Of course, the brewmaster at Belching Beaver really did all the majority of the work. Yeah, they really let him kind of experiment with a few things, taste all the different ideas with all 6 beers that they've done. So it's just kind of cool. It's not like the brewery already had this pre-made. It was just like, slap your name on it. It really is something that Deftones kind of put their stamp of approval on.
That's cool.
Very awesome.
Yep.
Very, very cool.
It's nice when you get something like that and it's just not a silly little gimmick. It's actually a legit tasting beer.
No, it's good. It's good for an IPA. Definitely.
It's very good.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys like it.
I would definitely buy this one again.
Sweet.
That was a good pick.
Cool.
Yes.
Glad you guys
You haven't disappointed yet, man.
You really haven't.
I've disappointed myself, I think, with one of them, but you guys liked it. I don't remember which one, but I didn't care for it. What did we have planned for next week? You guys remember off the top of your head? It's spacing me right now.
Oh, I don't.
If you don't know, it's no big deal. Obviously, we can talk, but
Joey's got the whole thing going on here.
All right.
Pretty impressed.
It's the calendar. January. No,
we're in
February. Oh,
February 9th.
Maybe this will help you. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Oh, Red Stripe.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I do remember that. Yeah. It took me a minute. Right on. I was even just at the liquor store yesterday. I was telling you guys, and I totally forgot to pick up Red Stripe. That one like slipped my mind. I'm even the one who suggested that. But
Well, you can find that in the gas station here.
Yeah. And they just handed it to me when I walked off the stinking boat when I got into Jamaica.
I'm sure.
There you go.
There you
Have
go.
a Red Stripe.
yeah, exactly. Good call.
Okay.
I'm excited because I've never tried that. So I've never had it.
It's
excited to
decent.
try it.
Yeah, it's a fun. It's just kind of cool because the bottle's a little bit different
Yeah.
from Jamaica. The flavor itself, it's a beer. It's a
Oh, I'm
lager, but
It's-
but anyway, all right. Well, I'll let you guys get at it. So cheers.
Well,
Well,
thank
cheers.
you.
And we'll see you next week.
Have a great evening.
You too. We'll see you around.
We'll see you.
So we have a new man in the back as our producer.
Old man.
An old man. An old new man. I don't know. Hey, Jack. In the is it under brands or banners?
It's under brands.
Brands.
What are we looking for?
Scroll down. And the one that
up.
says TT
Oh, yeah.
ABA, the unexplained, down at the bottom.
The very bottom one.
There it is.
There you go. Click on
Yeah.
that one.
You won't see it right away, but
So I think you need to give a little,
yes, going to a quick little introduction.
yeah.
But
And we'll bring
it's
our
a
guest on.
very impressive introduction here.
Yes, it is.
So, Carl L. Johnson has been investigating reports of strange phenomena for the past 47 years, beginning with his association with noted ghost hunting couple Ed and Lorraine Warren. As members of a team based at Rhode Island College, Carl and his identical twin brother Keith were called to investigate the Perron family situation in Harrisville, Rhode Island during August and September of 1973. And they alerted the Warrens to the Perron situation. 40 years later, this inspired a motion picture titled The Conjuring. Both Carl and Keith were featured in the first and second seasons of the Sci-Fi Channel series Ghost Hunters, leaving the show to better pursue their own endeavors. Carl has numerous other television credits, including the shows Paranormal State on A&E Network, The Haunted on Animal Planet, Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet, Most Terrifying Places in America on Travel Channel, A Haunting on the Learning Channel, also Destination America Television and the Travel Channel, Ghost Adventures on Travel Channel, and Mysteries Decoded, also on the Travel Channel. Specializing as a demonologist, Carl continues his exploration of this is where I get messed up, and he'll have to help me, preternatural through the research unit's dual demonology, co-founded with Deacon James Anito, and Paranormal, co-founded with Elise Gianmarco Carlson, plus his website, Demonology Incorporated. He writes and lectures on related topics, as well as versed in arcane New England lore. Carl is currently employed by Old Slater Mill Association as senior interpreter staff and programs development. Slater Mill, located in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. You'll have to correct me on that if that's wrong. Built in 1793.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
A little bit older.
Old history. Yep. A little bit older.
Is regarded as the birthplace of America Industrial Revolution, or the America Industrial Revolution. The site is rich with history, and it is said haunting as unexplaining happenings often are noted within all three historic buildings on the Slater Mill
I
campus.
have no doubt.
That's cool. So without any further ado, let's bring on Mr. Carl.
Johnson.
Yeah. Welcome, Carl.
Hello there. You can hear me? The mic's on and everything?
Yeah, we hear you
Hey,
great.
great. That's awesome.
Because well, my voice is pretty resonant anyway, but we didn't have a test run. I know I ran out of time for that.
How's your snow situation out there?
Well, yeah, we were supposed to get really clobbered yesterday, and we did get some significant snow. but it was supposed to be snowing into today and all that. But it was, I did shovel the driveway out because it's going to freeze. I didn't even have to. It was just mush. I could have driven right out of that. It was dropping off my car. The snow was dropping off my car when I left. So it wasn't the monster we anticipated that was predicted. Not to say it isn't going to be icy tonight. I'll have to be careful. I'm in a studio right now, and I have access to, and I'm 1.5 miles away. So during that 1.5 miles, I'll be particularly careful.
Careful, yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've had to drive on icy roads.
I think ice
What'd you say, 80 degrees yesterday or?
today.
Yeah. Let's
Today.
see. Oh, what does it say? It's still 75 degrees out there right now. So
And we had snow 2 days ago or 3 days ago. It's crazy.
just can't make sense of the weather. So.
Well, that's quite
Well,
a that you had there, Carl. I mean, that's.
Oh, I was very impressed with your introduction about demonology that you cobbled together. That's excellent.
Well, thank you.
I look forward to showing that to people. Now, there was only, I think Keith only got one mispronunciation. You said Pawtucket right. Everything was good.
That's Joey.
You said preternatural. You got that out. The only and you said Elise Gianmarco Carlson. That's not the easiest one. Got Elise's name right, but she is my partner in Panorama Paranormal. Okay. Now, if it wasn't for that 2 T's alliteration thing, it would be easy. But it's Panorama Paranormal. It's got that P thing on. Yeah. So the panorama meaning we explore a wide spectrum of interest. Not limited to ghost hunting or cryptids or whatever. Just if it's anomalous, if it's strange, we'll be the ones who duck under the do not enter caution tape. Well, Elise will first. She sometimes treads where I do not dare.
Right.
So forever an urban explorer, huh?
Oh yeah, there's always something. I mean, if there's like a sinkhole that turns out to be a cemetery, or reports of some strange craft that's landed, we'll be there for that. It's if it's out of the ordinary. It doesn't even have to be leaning towards the supernatural. If there are like discrepancies and historic timelines, we're always researching things along those lines.
Right.
Well,
That's
cool.
awesome.
Well, I need to ask you: are you able to see the comments that scroll in? We'll be thrown.
I've got a blank. That section is blank right now. I don't know if I dare to mess with it. I might shut myself off here. But no, I don't. I see the column, but I don't see the comments. So if you could please read them to me, and I'll look at them later. I'm sure
we could throw them up on the screen as they come up, and you'll be able to see them.
Please do. Yes.
Yeah, Jade 777 says he's a big Carl fan, and especially from the Taps days.
Oh my. 777. Yeah, that goes back a while. Yeah, I was a member of the Atlantic Paranormal Society for 8 years, and on the show Ghost Hunters, as you read in my little autobiography there, for the first 2 seasons. Then my brother and I left for it was confining in that it was contractual. We couldn't just go on a ghost hunt without violating that contract. Right. So eventually we did it for a while and enjoyed it. And then it was time to leave. So
you're kind of
simple as that. Yeah.
Those things.
Yeah. Somebody from the Taps days. I hope Jade keeps in touch.
Yeah. I'm glad to see George has a beer. He said.
Oh, he's drinking tonight. That's good. Yeah. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't bring any beer. In fact, I've resurrected from last night. I was not feeling well the last 2 nights.
That's nice.
And last night at this time, I was saying, "That's it. I'm done. I've got COVID. 19. I'm going to be isolated. I just hope I get through this." And then in the morning, I was, "What's the problem? I feel okay." I've had that before where I have kind of a flu and it lasts for 24 to 48 hours. Then suddenly it lifts. And I'm thinking that's what it is. I did have my second COVID test this morning. So, pending results. Let's see how I am.
So
right now, I'm fine.
With your taste buds?
No, it hasn't affected that. My sister asked me that. I can taste and smell. I have my appetite. In fact, I'd have a morning exercise regimen I do. It didn't take too long. But I did double today to make up for what I missed yesterday. Just kind of to prove to myself, I'm all right.
Right.
Yeah. As Mercutio said in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, ask for me tomorrow and you shall find me a grave man. So we'll see.
I remember that.
Only as good as your last health report. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what got you into demonology?
Demonology actually found me. My first residential case was actually the Perrin case in Harrisville, Rhode Island, Round Top Farmhouse, which is now known more popularly as the Conjuring House.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't sense or experience anything demonic there, but it was a heavy case with a lot of activity. Then my next residential situation turned out to be a case of full-blown demonic possession. And it had all the criteria. If you think of possession, demonic possession, that's what happened there. And that's where I cut my teeth on demonology. I figured if I run out of here, if I flee the scene, I'll probably never be able to go back into another haunted house, or at least something of that ilk, because this wasn't just, pictures falling off the wall. This was confronting someone who was under phasic change in personality, and, could be a violent episode. His face and his demeanor, his personality, even the way he moved and walked, changed. And it didn't look like the same person, except he was in the same body. The subject was a 14-year-old boy, and this took place in Providence, Rhode Island. And there were some hairy scenes, and times I really thought I was going to leave. I just got to get out of this house. This is unclean. It's bad. It's unfamiliar. They think I'm some kind of expert. And I know this. If I go back to my parents' house, there's food in the refrigerator, and I'm just going to, just have a good night. Wish them well. Talk to them tomorrow.
Right.
But if I had done that, I don't know if I could have gone back, And the subject, he would have known that I left. He would have known that I fled the scene. So I stuck with it. And the most trying moment, I think, was when he was advancing at me with this glare. I mean, his face, what we call triangulated, the features just distorted and drawn in. Now, of course, there were psychological ramifications as well as the paranormal, but there was a lot of paranormal going on. And he was approaching me he had murder in his eyes, it looked like. And he was just ferocious looking, it didn't look quite human, even though he was a boy of 14. He was my height. So he approached me, and I don't know what compelled me to do this, if it was even a conscious decision. I just came up and put my hands on his shoulders, reassuringly. I said, it's all right. It's all right. And then I put my hand on the back of his neck and just, held him like that for a while. He was, gently and reassuringly, and it made the difference. I don't know what power came through me. I don't think it was my own, but that's just what I felt compelled to do. I'm not going to yell at him and say, depart, evil spirit. That's only going to exacerbate it. And, and I'm not just going to walk away either. So I spoke to him in a reassuring tone, and that did it. Then I knew I could do that. I knew I could stand my ground in such a situation. When I say a situation, I mean my chair with me in it moved all the way back across the floor to the wall. And there was a picture of Jesus on a table. I remember I was standing next to it. I looked to see if the boy was looking at that picture. I looked at it again about a minute later, and it had turned itself upside down, inverted. The picture just turned upside down. That means when I wasn't looking at it, it must have flipped. And
Right.
Things like that were happening. I felt as though I was taken over. And I'm not prone to suggestion, I don't think, but I suddenly felt this onrush of emotion. This was during the expunging, the driving out the spirit, or attempting to. And I suddenly felt as if it had come into me. I felt this unfamiliar surge of emotion, anger, and fear combined. I felt compelled to jump out the window. But what I did was I just concentrated on my own sense of self. I said, no, it's not going to get to me. I don't know what the source, but I'm not going to let it take over me. So I resisted it. It left me shaken. I felt it pull out, like it was coming out of the back of my head. Boom. And at that moment, a young lady in the next room fell to the floor and started pulling her hair out, screaming. So I think this malevolent spirit jumped from myself to her. And this went on for about an hour and a half, things like that. And but it was successful. I didn't really have hopes for it. I said, he's going to have psychological problems probably all through his adolescence, maybe into adulthood. But he was better after that. It actually worked. Part of it, psychodrama, some of it faith, but it seemed to succeed.
Wow.
I see a question here.
Yeah.
There is.
Can demons be of human origin, like an evil person? Now, I've debated that. What I'm supposed to say, the stock answer is that a demon is an inhuman spirit, never walked the earth in human form. But I think the human mind can project such malevolence and a disassociated malevolence. I think it can feed an entity or create one and, in essence, become demonic. Say someone is very hostile. They may have, mental imbalance during their life. That person passes on. Something of their psyche lingers, remains.
Mhm.
And maybe that combines with a genuine inhuman spirit that you would call a demon. And maybe it pulls it in, and that combines to create a maelstrom, and it becomes a stronger entity because of the human influence. I do concede to the possibility that a human mind can create a demon. I'm probably the only one who believes that. I don't know. Well, my colleague James Anito and I have talked about that too, and he knows that the mind is a powerful tool. So the big answer is dunno, D-U-N-N-O, don't know. I think it's possible it can happen. I think a human mind can create a demon.
Interesting.
I think that
Demons.
I
Should I read the next question from Wendy Clark? Do you think demons mess with someone who is more religious more than non-religious people? Yes, definitely they do. Oh, it depends. The criteria is always different. I've never encountered a demonic situation where there was not some kind of seriously unresolved conflict or suppressed trauma. There's always some psychological imbalance. And I'm saying the person is not necessarily mentally ill, the person that's being afflicted, but there's always something that draws it in.
Right.
Therefore, a religious person is more prone to demonic oppression or even possession. If somebody is just not a believer in the demonic realm, it's unless they've got something messing with them, they have something in their past too. They're probably not going to be bothered by a demon. I think there are some people who are immune to demonic oppression, usually a staunch realist or atheist or skeptic. Actually, my colleague Elise is a realist, but she's open-minded. She's open to possibilities. A skeptic, someone who I'm too smart to be fooled. I don't believe in any of that poppycock. That person probably cannot be possessed or oppressed. Or if they do, they won't attribute it to that. If they have mood swings, or they'll say, or they're acting differently, they'll say, oh, it's something else. It's I'm going through a bad phase. So you wouldn't really know anyway. And what do we have here? Have you ever had a demon evil entity attach itself to you? I've had an entity attach itself, where I knew it was bothering me, and it would tend to appear to me. I'd see a shadow person. It's a form of ghost that we really don't understand much of anything about. And when I was on a demonic, actually that case was not demonic, the one I'm thinking of, but it was a malevolent one. There was stuff going on. I had an attachment. I kept seeing a shadow person, at first out of the corner of my eye. And then I would be driving, and this happened twice. I'd be driving and I'd see it in the middle of the road. Oh, whoa, what's that? It was the shadow thing.
Wow.
But I haven't had a shadow person or an attachment bother me that much. They don't last long. They're almost amusing. That's not something that bothered me. It wasn't something where I closed, the medicine cabinet in the bathroom and see it in the mirror. Oh, shit. Wasn't like that. Just I knew there was something around me for a while.
Right.
And it's just like, get away from me. It faded with time. They're not as strong as when you're in that environment. An exception would be if somebody visits a site of real distress, emotional distress, such as an abandoned asylum. I've known people to go in there and start talking to the spirits and come away with a serious attachment that they could not easily get rid of. But I have not had that experience. So yes, I've had an attachment didn't bother me too much. Didn't last long.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah.
Did you ever-
Here's somebody. We are investigating the Conjuring House November 1st. That gives me plenty of time to prepare. Yeah, if I'm invited, I would come.
If it was a
I was at the Conjuring House, what is it, 3 weeks ago now? Yeah, it was the last time I was there. I'm friends with the homeowners, and I have access to their house. You know, I can go there when I wish, as long as I, make sure they're going to be home. So I'm friendly with them. And it doesn't scare me, but you can be a little unnerved in that house, I think, because when you start hearing when I was there 3 weeks ago, I heard a disembodied voice. We all did. Disembodied voice and scurrying footsteps. Now, if I was alone there, actually, even that wouldn't bother me. But staying overnight would kind of, it's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
The Conjuring House does not disappoint. This is what I'm saying. Well, you folks you gentlemen probably have something to say before we go on to more questions.
Well, I do have a question. Actually, a two-parter probably. So how old were you when you had that first interaction with the demon?
Let's see, 26. I believe I was 23 years old at the time.
Okay. So before that, though, there had to have been something that piqued your interest in investigating the paranormal. So what was that got you started?
My sister. Well, I grew up in a haunted house. It was. I wouldn't say it was enough to drive us out, but some days and some nights were pretty freaky in that house. This was in North Situate, Rhode Island. It was quite rural back then. Mm-hmm. So we would have things happen like hear footsteps, distinctly hear the footsteps coming up the stairwell from the basement. Whatever was going on there seemed centered in the basement. Aren't they all, or most of them? And rapping on, like, distinct knocks on the doors. And my brother would hear like children playing outside, and there were no children there. My sister and I, well, that became so interesting. I started reading up on the topics of the supernatural. And my sister and I started to play on a Ouija board. My mother got us a Ouija board because she knew we were interested in that stuff. And, now at the time I was 15. Actually, I started when I was 14. And my sister was 11. So I led her astray. And we all wanted to play that. Well, my brother didn't. My brother did not want to play the Ouija board. Even then, he thought it was ill-advised to do that. Right. But he was interested.
So Keith, was he born before you?
No, I was born before him, actually. So he should be wiser. But well, we were cesarean section, so we were very close, and they did not know we were going to be twins. They thought they detected one heartbeat. It was supposed to be just one birth. So then it's, cesarean section, there's just whoever they grab first. Oh, no, don't close yet. There's somebody else down there, So and they had to think of a name that went with Carl, so they got Keith. And that's become a family name. His son is named Keith.
Nice.
So my sister and I went in one of our early sessions. And of course, I said, give us a sign, because the planchette was moving around, spelling out words. And I said, give us a sign that you're here. And the planchette went to the letters and spelled out cellar, C-E-L-L-A-R.
Oh, wow.
So I excused myself. I said, we'll be right back. We went to the top of the cellar stairs. And there was a wooden partition then going down there and on the long side of the stairwell. So we waited there about 20 minutes. We were just about to give up. And then we heard 3 raps on that wood panel, partition. And so we looked at each other. Well, we got something. A minute later, 3 more knocks. So we knew we had something. Mm-hmm. So that only increased our interest in the spirit board. And eventually it started to give like nasty messages and threatening. And then it was nice again. And, it was a parlor game. It was interesting at the time.
Right.
I took it half seriously, but we did get that phenomena. And it wasn't long after that, setting it up in that basement, that cellar, we had storage, chairs and a dehumidifier down there. It was commonplace to hear things moving around down there. You get so used to it. I didn't think much of it. My mother said, well, you're dreaming when that happens anyway. I said, well, Mom, I heard it about 3 minutes ago. I wasn't dreaming there. I'd go down there. Chairs would be turned upside down that weren't before. And, the dehumidifier was on the other side of the room. Something was moving objects down there. So I eventually moved my bedroom down there just to have my privacy. By the time I was 16, I was, stay in the basement. Give me all kinds of respiratory problems, but I had my privacy. Moved the black and white television down there. All right. I've been there for a few weeks, and then I start hearing the banging and thumping again. I said, oh my, I'd almost forgotten about that. Now it's happening while I'm down here, and sometime after that, it wasn't a couple of years later, I got my first EVP, electronic voice phenomena. Those are incidents where a sound or especially a voice, and it could be in the context of a paranormal investigation or just a random incidental, some voices imprinted onto the audio recording. And a friend of mine and I, we were recording some music and talking. We're playing back the recording we made. And, we heard this voice, it sounded like slow motion. Like, someone help me. So that sounds like it's saying, someone help me.
Wow.
I never heard of a spirit voice before, like of it being recorded. So my friend had a recorder that would speed it up, and he accelerated that recording, and then you can hear it say, Carl, help me, help. I said, oh boy, we're on to something now. This is a spirit voice. Then I saw a program In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy hosting, and they were talking about spirit voices. I said, oh, I wasn't the first. People have been doing that for some time. Then I started to see something down in the basement. I'm still living down in the basement. I was sleeping down there. And I started to see the form of a woman down there. I mean, this was a real bona fide ghost. I'd just gone to bed one night. I heard the thumping. I said, oh, here we go again. I haven't heard this in a while. I really heard things moving around. It's like somebody was in there moving objects. And then the noise stopped. It was enough that I got out of bed. So I'm wide awake. And then I saw this woman walk across the floor. You'd see her. I really saw her, very distinct, detailed. The spooky thing about it, at first I thought somebody's down here. We got company or somebody's down here, And this is all within like less than a second. I'm reasoning this. But what was particularly eerie about this apparition was that as she walked, she moved up and down, but there were no sound of footfalls. She wasn't making any sound.
Right.
And just that was really spooky, scary at the time. And then she walked by me. She came really close. She walked by me and faded into the shadows. Then that happened again, and it happened again. So I knew we had somebody. I thought it probably came from the spirit board that my sister and I would play on. So I never knew what to make of that. I thought that was probably the one who said, Carl, help me. But I couldn't understand it. And I saw the clearest I ever saw her was I was taking care of my grandfather. He was convalescing, had a problem with his back. So it was dawn, and I was going to go back to bed for a little while. So I laid down, wasn't anywhere near asleep. I was saying, look, and there's a woman standing next to the bed. This reflexively, I said, hello. And then I knew who it was. It was that woman. I could see her eyes. I could see hairs disheveled. It looked like a person in, like vintage clothing.
Wow.
Looking right at me with that very static stare, not blinking. And this is going on for about 3-4 seconds. I'm really looking at her. And then that's a long time to see a ghost, by the way, about 3 seconds. And then she just evaporated from the bottom up. She vanished. I remember leaning on my elbow and I said out loud, how am I ever going to get anybody to believe this? So that and a couple of dozen other stories I could tell you about growing up there. We had a haunted house. In fact, there was an episode of a haunting on Travel Channel, as many of them are. And the episode is called Dangerous Games. And that actually tells the story of me growing up in that house, my siblings and me. I narrated, and my brother and sister do. And they do reenactments. shows me when I was, the actor portraying Keith and me when we were 16. Actors. Whenever that airs, I start getting the text messages and the phone calls. I said, "See, I told you I was a good-looking teenager." With somebody else, anyway. But yeah, but it's about 80% accurate, that episode. They just kind of tie it up quickly at the end. So that's how I became involved with the preternatural, exploring the paranormal. I've been interested in it ever since. I guess I always have been. And I met the Warrens when I was 17 at Rhode Island College.
It's neat.
And I was invited to join a group based at Rhode Island College, PIRO, Parapsychology Investigatory and Research Organization. And while the Warrens were speaking, they were asking questions of the audience, and I raised my hand and I said a couple of things. They said, "Come up here, young man." I actually was speaking with the Warrens. I said, "Boy, I'm glad I showed up tonight." And after their lecture, I was invited by that group to join their team. And so we would meet at Rhode Island College. We were looking for a residential case. We had explored some exterior settings where phenomena had been reported. And my brother placed an ad in a local periodical advertising our group to let us be known. And our first response was from a Miss Carolyn Perrin. She and her husband had recently purchased a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. They had strange activity there, and they felt their house was haunted, with good reason. So they invited us to come and explore and investigate. So we actually conducted the first ever paranormal investigation at what would become known as the Conjuring House. And that was August and September of 1973. A month later, we had a meeting, and we thought maybe we should call in Ed and Lorraine. We know the Warrens. And it's not that we felt we were in over our heads. By no means were we. We were enjoying conducting what we felt was a scientifically based investigation. So we called in Ed and Lorraine, and they actually, I called them to consult, but they volunteered to come to the house. And they did. And Mrs. Perrin gave them a tour of the house. I was on the phone with Mrs. Carolyn Perrin every day, like it'd be 6, 7, 8 times she would call, updating me on the activity there. So we had a good rapport. So the Warrens came, and we showed them around. I was part of the tour. And we were not to hear back from the Perrins for another, I think it was 16 days. Now, Carolyn Perrin was telephoning me just every day. Suddenly, no communication. So we had another meeting of our Pyro group, and we figured that either the Warrens have a very serious case and they're working on it diligently, or that it's fixed and we don't need to be there anymore. For whatever reason, we're not hearing back from this family, so we'll let it go. Then 16 days later, after that, introduction of the Warrens, I introduced the Warrens to the Perrins, and Carolyn phoned me and told me she apologized for not having been in touch. She told me that the Warrens had told her and her husband, Roger, that they could be of no help unless they were the only paranormal investigators there. They said, we were just a bunch of college kids. We couldn't do any good, just get in the way. But what the Warrens conducted was not, they performed an intercession, not an investigation.
Right.
They were convinced that the house was demonically haunted. And actually, they had a falling out. It did not end well between the Perrins and the Warrens back in those days. They had a falling out, and that was because a seance went very wrong. The seance that was conducted October 30th, 1973. I was not part of that. So, I would not see the Perrin family for the next 40 years. My brother did. My brother was more in touch with them. But I actually didn't physically see Roger Perrin. I didn't see Carolyn Perrin even after that, but, distance. But Roger Perrin and his daughter, Andrea Perrin, I would not see them for the next 40 years.
Wow.
And, but it was a good reunion when I did. We have another question. What could this be? Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, you can read it.
I've been dominating the scene. You haven't gotten too much in.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay, thank you. Do you think if you demand a demon to leave in God's name and it is a powerful demon, do you believe it has to leave, or are some demons not affected by your faith in God and won't leave? Well, sometimes they do stick around. If you proceed with faith and a confidence in that faith. You're going to at least nullify the haunting, but some surprisingly stick around. You can lessen their power, but it can be difficult to eradicate a demonic presence. Some reason, for whatever reason, they'll stay. But you can kick its butt, and you can diminish it, and you can ward it. I've just known of a couple of situations where the demon wouldn't leave. The caveat is the homeowners, the residents, who had called me in, and me and a team in, they were not taking advice. They wouldn't do everything we advised them to do to nullify this haunting.
Right.
Like one situation that transpired in Brooklyn, New York, and I was then a member of TAPS. We told the homeowners, don't resist it, don't yell at it. You're only going to strengthen it if you do that. But I would ask them, so how's it going? Oh, no, since the stuff's happening, it's back again. So, well, what do you suppose incited that? Why did it come back? I don't know. We yelled at this thing to leave us alone and not bother us anymore. So that's what we asked you not to do.
Right.
Because you're dealing with something invisible, mostly. And you can't just yell at it and command it to leave. I mean, but if one does, they have to do so with confidence and, direction and, reliance on faith, really. So I don't think it's impossible to banish a demon. But suppose not, a Christian demon, or a Judaic demon, then it gets tricky. But I think if you proceed with a forthright purpose, and confidence that you're doing the right thing, that's going to at least nullify it, and eventually it will leave. So the answer, like to most of these questions, is yes and no. Depends on the situation. Everyone's unique.
So when it comes to real life demonic possessions, is it really anything like Hollywood? I mean, or is it totally off base, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Because, you see people, all kinds of stuff happens in the movies, when people get possessed. I'm sure just by what you're saying, real life is a lot different than that. I mean, is there anything that's been really, really scary to the point where you were afraid?
Sometimes it is, yes. Sometimes it's not too far off from what you see in Hollywood.
Okay.
It's usually more subtle and drawn out and a longer process and a longer experience. But as far as the real scary manifestations, sometimes I've had days like that. I've had encounters like that. We actually see a person's face change and the impossible happens. And you can analyze it afterwards.
Right.
Some of it was the psychological impact to this, trauma the person was experiencing. Some of it you just can't explain away, but yeah, it can be like that. One remarkable case was Anneliese McCall in Germany, who in the 1980s was going through a terrible demonic possession, and it was fatal. One could say she died of possession, but she actually died of malnutrition. I don't think she received the proper care. But, and I'd advise anybody who's, easily disturbed by such matters, you shouldn't look this up, but you can find it online. There are recordings and plenty of pictures of that exorcism performed on Anneliese. And it was the basis for the motion picture, The Possession of Emily Rose.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was very true to life. They just changed the names, and they have it set in America, not in Germany. In fact, exorcisms in the country of Germany are now outlawed because of that and another case that happened. And I believe that one was fatal too. If the person doesn't receive the proper care, it has to be more than religious clerical intervention.
Right.
You need a sound psychiatric intervention, evaluating what medication she's been prescribed, or he or she. So, but in Annaliese's case, that's the most tragic example of demonic possession of which I can think. I'm sure that the possession was genuine. Do I think it was a demon that just rent her and took over? No, not totally. I think there was demonic influence. But, she should have been distracted. She should have been pulled out into the light. More people needed to care for her. But something went tragically wrong with this young woman. And especially, just like they portray in the movie, there are before and after pictures. They show Emily Rose, when she entered college, and then they show her, at the time of her death or near her death. And it's just what an incredible difference. That movie depicts the story very accurately. So demonology is not something to take lightly, because sometimes the demonologist could be called into a case that's really trying, and you feel like why am I here? Who says I can help these people? As far as the function of a demonologist, there is academic demonology and applied demonology. Academic means you study the subject, and somebody can be a demonologist and never set foot into a haunted house or confront a demon. Applied demonology is when you actually respond to people who seek you out, seek out the help of a demonologist, and you may meet with them in person or counsel them, just communicate with them. So academic and applied demonology.
So I'm curious, Annalise, do you know what the coroner said was the cause of death?
Yes. They said it was a psychological imbalance and leading to malnutrition, and a lot of self-abuse too. But that just, exacerbated what was already wrong.
Right.
She was injuring herself. She was just not eating. And so something was seriously wrong, and in a very overall sense, you could classify that as demonic possession. I just believe she could have been helped if she received the proper intervention. I don't think enough people were involved in this case. The persons who were meant well, but that wasn't enough. I would have to personally evaluate her and have met her to have said, more about it. I just, knowing all the ramifications that I could research on that situation, I just feel she could have been saved if things had been different, because
she had control
of
her.
It was a thing of the mind.
Yeah, she had control of her own body. Then she would probably take better care of herself.
Yes.
So.
Have you ever run into, I think the thing that always creeps me out the most dealing with possessions is when they start speaking in different tongues. Like they'll speak in languages they would have never known otherwise. Have you ever been witness to that? Have you ever seen that happen?
Yes, I've heard of it, and I've heard people speak in tongues, religious fervor. But as far as a possessed person, I was involved in a case that took place in this was in Oklahoma. It was in El Dorado. That's how they pronounce it. El Dorado, Oklahoma, near the Texas border. And there was a member of the team. They called me in. Oklahoma Paranormal Research called me in, and I was glad to assist. But this woman was taken over. She really seemed to be possessed. To hear her voice change, we have a recording of it. Now, I didn't meet her because she had to drop out of that case. It was just too much for her. And to hear that voice come out, it sounded like it had a syntax, a grammatical basis to it. It really sounded like a language. To me, it sounded somewhat Native American. And, we tried even playing the recording backwards, but couldn't get anything that made sense. But she was obviously taken over by something. So I have heard a recording of that. Very, very upsetting, I thought it was.
Yeah.
It gave me the chills to hear the recording even. They submitted that to me before I came there. Actually, that was documented for a paranormal themed television show. That was The Haunting, or The Haunted. It dealt with how animals react to paranormal activity and influence. The Haunted, and that was Leave or Die was the title of that episode. And I was involved in that. That took place way back in, that was, 2009 into 2010 that was going on. Oh, look at this. A Harrisville Farm question. So this is by Wendy Clark. Hello, Wendy, again. So on the Ghost Adventures episode, you did Harrisville Farmhouse. When you got affected at the table, did anything follow you, or did you have any problems when you went home? Actually, no, I did not. The way it's edited, I wouldn't say it was falsified. No, that really took place, but it was all voluntary. I was speaking with the Ghost Adventurers crew, and I said, all those years ago, when I was here in 1973, I felt that something wanted to speak through me. I always felt the house had a message, and I would like that to come through. I said, I should be responsible. I'm a demonologist. I have to set a good example, but something's compelling me to just let this house speak through me, and I don't know where it would go. And of course, that's all I had to say. And Zach Bagans, the team leader of Ghost Adventures, he said, Carl, please let it speak through you. Please, we're here now. I said, I'm curious as heck because I'm feeling that now. Now, I could have gotten up and walked out of that room at any time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't that taken over, but I didn't even know what they were filming and what they weren't. I didn't know the cameras were on me when that was happening. So I just let it, whatever came to my mind. And it really did. It was palpable. I felt this overwhelming urge to speak for it. And I didn't know what I was saying until we played it back. Now, maybe I was channeling the house, but I was not possessed. As I said, I could have gotten up and left, but it was fascinating to me. And everybody wanted to see what would happen. And what it said through me was, don't leave, don't go. Kept repeating that, and everybody said, wow, oh, ma, oh, this is unbelievable. Then they all leave me alone in the room and go someplace else. I said, okay, it's a little spooky now.
Yeah.
But it was then that I saw the blackness come into the room. That's endemic to that house in Harrisville, that there's something black black, the absence of light, something dark.
Mm-hmm.
It can manifest in two ways. Either the room you're in becomes dark and you say, wait a minute, is there like a solar eclipse outside, or, the light's failing, or what? Or you actually see the black thing. I won't even call it a mass because it's formless. It just comes in, but it seeks egress. It goes down stairwells and, through doors, open doors. It doesn't just osmosis go through a wall. It has to find some easier passage. It's been seen coming up from the well downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
What it is, I don't know. I think it's just the house has been around since 1736. I think it's accrued so many memories that those memories have taken on a personality, an evanescent life. And that's probably what you see going around. It's not evil. It's just eerie when you see it. And that's what came in to the room when the guys left me alone in there. Maybe that was deliberate that they left me alone. They wanted to see what would happen. And I debated as to whether I should even say anything, because everybody's going to expect me to say that I saw something.
Right.
But what have I got to lose? I'll tell them. And it was filmed. They caught it on film that night, the blackness.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a scene in that episode. It's called The Haunted Farm in Harrisville. And I looked like really weakened. And I called for my brother who was there with me, I want him to come in here and do a blessing over me. And I'm kind of staggering. That's all real. I had no idea that they were filming me then. I didn't want to, be seen when I'm at my weakest, weakest state. I just, what we got here? They just filmed it, and that was all genuine, where my brother performs a blessing over me.
Wow.
Again, I could have left at any time, but why break up a good party?
Right.
Do you and Keith experience the phenomena of twin telepathy? Yes, we do. Oh, there's synchronicity and there's telepathy, and we experience both. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of coincidences between it. And yeah, if there's something wrong, I sense it. Usually with him. I mean, our lives took different courses. He's married, I am not. But yeah, we're both authors. We both have written books. So yeah, I can pick up on it. If there's some distress in his life, I usually pick up on it,
Right.
Something like our cars tend to have problems at the same time. That can be. I said, how's your car doing? We were getting, like, if we had an illness, almost invariably we get it at the same time. Well, when we were living together, that made sense. But even after we moved apart, Well, one little thing was I broke my finger once, a little finger of my right hand, and it grew in a little crooked, and there it is. And That's not my middle finger. That's my little finger. And you can't tell on the screen. And my brother, within a few days, broke his finger. I forget how we did it. And we both had splints on the same time. They both grew in crooked like that, exactly like that, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah, we got, a lot of coincidences.
Does your
dating girls with the same name sometimes happens. Well, if it's something like Susie, maybe that'd make sense, but not always,
Does your family still own that house?
No, I wish they did. The house in Situate,
Yeah,
where I grew up. No, I drive by it, and people have asked me if I know the owners. Is anything strange still happening there? I'm guessing not. I just haven't worked up my nerve, or I'm going someplace or have some other destination. I haven't worked up my nerve to actually go there and say, "Hi, I'm Carl. I used to live here. What you got going on? Please leave us alone."
right.
Or they might have heard of me. Well, you're the strange guy. They might be receptive to it. But they might. I could learn the homeowners' names, but I wouldn't know anything about them.
Right.
And they might say, "You're the weird guy that Yeah, we've seen you on television." And never mind. I just haven't thought of the words to approach them. Jehovah's Witness. Amway. I don't know. Do you have sediment? Do you have radon? I don't know. I just have to be honest and say, look, I used to live here. We thought some strange things were going on, but suppose they have children saying, "Mommy, is there a ghost?" So I could end up wishing I hadn't gone there. Yeah. Our daughter is having nightmares because of you. She saw you on television. No, I will eventually. I'll have an answer for that eventually. I'll send somebody to ask them.
Yeah.
No, I'll do it.
You just wonder people who have experiences in the houses.
I am curious, because things were really happening in that house. I would say my parents' house was just as haunted as the Conjuring house, the farm in Harrisville. In moments, it was sporadically haunted. It's not like stuff was going on every day, nor was it at the house in Harrisville. So I'd like to know. Probably ask them. Okay, and Heart Searcher 64 Christine. What advice would you give to someone who wants to get into demonology and paranormal investigations?
Good question.
Know your team members. Know them well. Start reading. You probably already have. Read up on the subject. I would advise you to read my book. I don't know if I sent you a copy of it. Any thing you can pull up visual, but it's called Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook, and it's certainly not the definitive work on demonology. It's just a compilation of essays and case histories from which the researcher could benefit. Let's see, how did this guy Carl deal with that? And my co-author is Lana J. Brock. She's an accredited theologian. That works by John Zaffis has 2 books out, and my brother's books, Paranormal Realities, parts 1, 2, and 3. But his are more case histories. Mine has some speculation, and I have a glossary and a lot of references. So just read up, get in touch with me. I'll send you some titles besides that. And
I think we have a picture.
but primarily, don't go it alone, but know your coworkers or your co-investigators. Make sure it's people you're going to get along with. You may disagree on some points, but there are 2 reasons not to go into a paranormal investigation by yourself if you have that opportunity. One, if you trip or fall or break something, it's all going to go on you. If you sprain an ankle, you got somebody to help you. If you knock over a vase, you can always blame it on the other person. There's always some reason to have somebody with you. Also for corroboration. And I've had this again and again where I've seen an apparition, but nobody else did. A couple of times, though, somebody else did see it at the same time as did I. But my most recent encounter with an actual ghost, a visual manifestation, an apparition, that was in October. I know it was October 4th last year. And I was at the Oliver House in Massachusetts, and I was there with several people, and James Anito was with me, and Elise Gianmarco Carlson. And we're all down in the basement. We had a tour guide and our hostess, and she was telling us that down in that basement has an earthen floor. She found phalanges, finger bones there. She turned them over to the the police. That's in their forensics, and I don't think she's ever going to get her finger bones back. But psychics have said they believe a woman is buried under the soil in that basement. Now, as soon as she didn't sound like me, you know, like, and they say that there is a woman buried here. And I just want to recreate it for you. And so as soon as she said that, as soon as our guide, our hostess said that, out of my right peripheral vision, I saw something bright and purple, like a pan. I thought it was an electric panel. So I turned and looked. There it is. And what it was is something opened up, and it was the face of a woman, not features I could recognize, but I could see her hair piled up in her head, you know, an old-fashioned looking woman. And then it closed up again, like a portal maybe. And I saw this I was looking at it for, you could 1, 2, 3, and then it folded up. So I said, please mark the time, you know, 7:55 p.m.
Right.
And but nobody else saw it. And I had told Elise, I said, you know, I've seen a ghost, I think 7 times. I may never see one again. You don't know. You're only good as your last sighting. And it's been some years since I had seen one. And there I saw one that recently, last October, beginning of last October. But nobody else saw it. They, you know, I have a certain veracity with my team members. They know I saw something, but it wasn't illusory. I could actually memorize it, what I was seeing.
Right.
Not knowing how long it would last. And of course I had no time to pull out a camera and aim it, you know. So I just took in the experience. And then upstairs in that house, I heard footsteps, like actually not even footsteps. It was spirit popping. If you ever heard of that?
Spirit popping?
Spirit popping. It's like boop, 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 going around the room. It's like rapping or popping.
No,
I've heard that in a few places, 3 places actually. And that was a room where a little girl who had been scalded to death, she succumbed to her burns in that room, that small room in the Oliver house. So I went in there and I started to hear the pops, and they were traveling around the room. As soon as Elise walked in, they stopped. So that was meant to be my experience. So it's rewarding yet frustrating when you don't have it recorded. You don't have anybody else there to see it. Just tell an interesting story.
Well, you did send us a picture that I wanted to talk about a little bit.
A few of them, actually, or a couple.
Yeah, we'll remember, you know, this question. Do you want me to field that? And then you can, if we have time for you to show my pictures. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk myself out of my pictures. You know?
I know this is the one that Joey wants to talk about.
Okay. Now that is, to the best of my knowledge, that is the photograph of a demon's face, a demonic visage. And I'll tell you why. I had clients in Coventry, Rhode Island. They had a severe haunting. It was actually mostly poltergeist activity. Objects were being tossed around while we, the investigating team, were there. Well, a homeowner called me at it was 2:30 in the morning. Said, "Man, we got to get out. It's really doing things. It's throwing stuff, and we got to get out." And they gathered up their children and just left with, you know, just grabbed a few belongings. Now, I don't even know if they thought of locking the door, but the homeowner, Tony, he left his camera on a table at the bottom of the stairwell. He wanted that because he had paranormal evidence on it. He didn't want everybody to think they were crazy.
Right.
So he went back into the house just before they pulled out. He went back, took his camera, and then he saw this horrid thing, something like a man standing at the top of the stairs. He took a picture, then he left, and that's the picture.
It's chilling.
It's somewhat translucent. It's not human. It's got a distended jaw, as if it like could unhinge its jaw, the lolling tongue, just looking into malevolence, you know, looking at the face of hell. I don't know what it is. It just does not look human. So that's why I say it could be a genuine photograph of a demon. They don't mean to come out in pictures. Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
This one was seen, witnessed, and photographed.
Oh, so they did. Okay. to see it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he saw it. He saw that then. That's why he took the picture there. And you can see there's a translucence. You can see the door at the top of the stairs through that. So it's it's just something bizarre. However it's defined, we can't know what it is. But look at the detail in that. It's got lips. It's got dentition.
Oh yeah.
Shriveled nostrils. The eyes. Gee willikers. I can't look at that without being moved somewhat.
Yeah.
Because I know it was genuine. You just don't know what it was that was genuine.
So that was not an unintentional picture that we discovered later.
But that happens sometimes. That's really when you take a picture and then something shows up in it you didn't expect. But he saw it, aimed his camera, had the presence of mind to take a picture, and then left.
That's terrifying.
So those are the smoke pictures you send us, right? The ones that showed up later.
That might have been some that were taken in Slater Mill. Yeah, that's right. These showed up later. These were not witnessed at the time, these distorted images. Nobody saw them at the time. It was during a paranormal investigation in a very haunted site called the Wilkinson Mill. It was built in 1810. It's on the Slater Mill campus in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And, Jim Perry was on his first ever paranormal investigation. Jim took over 100 digital pictures. Most of them were completely unremarkable. These, however, there's a series where something whitish came out. And it's not cotton or anything like that, because this was in a machine shop exhibit, which was actually constructed in 1810. Functional machine shop. I don't know what to make of this. It's just something very strange. It's some kind of spirit manifestation. Of that, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Some people see something in it. Down towards the bottom, some persons have interpreted it a figure in prayer attitude with arms and folded and hands in prayer. I don't know. It's just a distortion. It's ectoplasm. It's interesting.
It's very
interesting. Whatever it is.
It's very reminiscent of watching Poltergeist. That
yes.
Smoke was going down the stairs.
Yeah, that's Poltergeist. Yeah, it does look like that. Carl, do you think I'm crazy? Of course I do. No. Carl, do you think I'm crazy for wanting to be scratched by a spirit? People tell me I am. No, because persons want to experience the remarkable, the unusual. And you didn't say you want to be thrown downstairs by a spirit, clobbered by a spirit. You just want to get a little scratch. I've had a spirit scratch more than once, in fact. I've seen it happen. The caveat is, of course, would you have something come home with you? Would you have an attachment? But that's rare when that happens. Sometimes when people are in a haunted setting, they come out with marks on scratches they can't explain. No, I don't think that's crazy at all. I guess I'm in good company, because I kind of like when that happens to me too. When I can show somebody, look, I didn't do this, and I don't know how it happened. That's. I think I've been able to once show people my spirit scratches, and I've gotten them a couple of times.
Wendy has.
If it's parents, they're not going to believe you.
Wendy has the tendency of attracting that type of interaction, though.
Yeah.
Lucky girl.
Yeah, she's been goosed by cowboys that aren't there. Yeah,
spirit scratch is pretty minor compared to that, huh?
Yeah.
So Mario,
well, if we have another question, I'll field that. I don't know if we weren't able to get to a question. Let's say, all for this. Do you think that doing what you do is a calling? I do, because I keep being called back to it. If I get away from it a while, somebody will alert me to a situation, or somebody needs serious counseling. And often through a series of coincidences, I'm called back to it. I don't consider myself saintly. I don't have a perfect faith. I am more of a secular demonologist, and my colleague Nathaniel Gillis, and my close colleague James Anito, and my brother Keith, they are religious demonologists. I am not. I am a Christian with questions. I should wear a big question mark, as a pendant. But then I look like the Riddler. So I just I do feel it's a calling. I keep getting called back to it because I do have some propensity to help people. One situation that comes to mind then was in Edmond, Oklahoma. I was called into that to assist. That's when I met my good friend Mike Ricksecker, who has authored a book, Walking in the Shadows, about shadow persons. And this was 10 years ago. And we were both, he was a member of the Oklahoma team. And then I had to, there was a woman that was, it was similar to the case in Providence, my first demonic case situation. And this woman was going through a terrible situation. And I had to walk towards her. I mean, it was filmed. This was another episode of a TV series. It wasn't filmed, it wasn't created for the television series. It's just this was going on.
Right.
And the production company happened to hear about it. So they asked if they could document it. Fortunately, they did. What you won't see in that episode, the episode is called Monster in My Closet. That's
I've seen that.
That's the haunted Monster in My Closet. You'd be surprised what you can find on YouTube. And so this woman suddenly, it came to a head. You can see me in that episode helping her when she was under the throes of demonic possession. And my mindset when this takes place is like, I don't want to do this. I'm not sure I still want to be here. Somebody's got to do something. Right. Somebody's got to start doing something. So I did approach her and I did help her with that. She became violent at times, explosive. And it all came to a head, and she revealed, out of courtesy to her, I won't say what she told about, but it came to a head when she revealed a past trauma. Her family members were there, the investigative team, and the filming crew. Actually, the producer, he actually took steps back. He was going to the back of the room because how she was behaving. She revealed the past trauma, and that's what it really incited the possession, what made her vulnerable. So as I had before, I just went up to her and I said, so I put a hand on her shoulder. It's all right. It's going to be all right. And my strategy was to isolate the spirit once it was out of her, or we assume it was out of her, to bring that outside, bless the house, isolate it, bring that spirit outside and banish it. Well, things got pretty dramatic when that happened because the cyclonic wind picked up. Coincidence? I don't know, but the team went outside and it started getting really windy to the trees were bending over. And we saw something strange, like it looked like squirrel monkeys. It looked like little gibbons, or, we saw black things climbing up in the trees and the branches. That's the second time I've experienced something like that. And, but they weren't bending the branches, whatever these things were. And the family had 2 cats. And those cats started racing around us in a circle for no apparent reason. So we felt that was a successful expulsion. It left me shaken and weak afterwards. Really looked good on television, though.
I'm sure.
And again, I never know what they're filming or what's going to come out.
Right.
Sometimes I think they should have included more, and other times things I wish they weren't in. But somebody should have told me to comb my hair or something, or tuck in my shirt, but they don't. But so you can see that's Monster in My Closet on The Haunted.
On The Haunted.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah. But
So
they can't, out of discretion, they couldn't, of course, they couldn't show when she revealed her trauma,
Right.
personal conflict.
We have a discussion going on in the comments about
I can see the comments that pop up. I can see those.
About Ed Warren, whether he was a non-denominational demonologist or if he was a religious demonologist. Is that anything you can speak on?
Sure. Ed Warren was a lay demonologist, meaning he was not ordained, not clergy, but he was very much a religious demonologist, very much in the Roman Catholic mode. So he relied on faith and prayer. In fact, the Warrens did very little that was scientific. They would take some measurements and they would record. And as you see illustrated in the movie The Conjuring, they debunk a haunting. They say it's some equipment that was sounding off in the house. But very much he was a religious demon. Ed and Lorraine were religious people, had strong faith. And somebody asked, can crosses work on on a demon? Sometimes it depends on the demon. If the demon doesn't take it seriously, if it's something you cherish, if it's something that's important to you, that will have an aura around it. That will be effective against the demonic realm. If it's something you keep with you that you really regard as potent, then yeah, it can. I mean, you can't drive everything out with a back, you demon, back. But
Right.
it can give you a start. It can enhance your own self-protection. So yes, they're good to have. Good tool.
That kind of brings me to my question. One word I haven't heard you mention much tonight, and I'm curious your thoughts on it, is an actual exorcism. What are your thoughts on exorcisms?
There is the Ritualis Romani, which is the formal rite of exorcism in the Catholic Church. It's very solemn, very wordy, and it's very solemn. That can be very effective. That's under extreme measures, when that is employed, and it has to be performed by an ordained priest, and he will have an acolyte assisting him who may or may not be ordained as well, but should be. So you've got two clerics performing the exorcism, and that's the big guns. That's when there's real problems. But it's a powerful psychodrama too. It has a majesty to it. It's very influential. It can be useful as a psychodrama, and of course, having a faith in it will enhance its effectiveness. I've been involved in and actually directed expulsions, which are not formal exorcisms, but it's basically driving the spirit out. It can be a tribal rite. All cultures have this, where you accede to the presence of a demon. You believe that there is a demon or some invasive spirit, and you want to kick it out and get rid of it from the person, from the home. And they can vary in their procedures, but it's basically using what works for you, prayer, a pre-resolution that it's going to succeed, that you're not going to be driven out of the house, and just getting rid of the thing as best you can. So yeah, those are two forms of exorcism. You can call it an expulsion an exorcism, but it should not be confused with the formal Catholic rite of exorcism. And my friend James Anito could elucidate on that as well, because he has studied that exorcisms. He hasn't been involved in one yet. Well, he's seen one, but he has not performed one yet.
Interesting.
Wow.
Talk more about that. Yeah, it's that's when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. If someone is attending, if somebody is pursuing demonology and they attend, they're somehow welcomed at an exorcism, which they probably would not be unless they are the exorcist or the assistant. Then that's what thing, because you don't know moment to moment. That's what makes these things so unnerving. Even exploring a haunted setting, you don't know minute to minute what's going to happen. It's that element of the unexpected. So yeah, if I was at an exorcism, I'd be leery. I have been, I've been steeling myself, bracing myself, saying, whatever, I'm going to feign this confidence and then it will become real, but I'm not going to be driven out.
Right.
There's something that kicks in too, if you of a certain personality type. It's like throwing myself under a bus, all right, let it target me then, and it's going to distract it from other people.
Right.
You don't know how you're going to react until you're in a situation. Like a child, I've seen a child walk in front of a bus in Providence, and there was no time to go around the other side of the bus or to think it out. So I had to run and grab that child out of the way of the bus. I don't think I'm a super brave person either, but I did that. It's reflexive because I knew I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't.
Right.
Just about 11 months ago, I helped somebody out of a burning house. Well, I was living at the house, so I was motivated to anyway, but what the standard thing to do would be to call the fire department, call 911 and get out of there. If you can take somebody with you, fine. But I put out the fire because it was a 1906 house, as my friend owns it. The woman who was living there, older woman, she became hysterical. So I had to pick her up like a lamp and carry her down as she's struggling, carrying her down the steps. She kept jumping in front of me. Oh, put it out, Carl, please, God, put it out, put it out. But to get out of my way, that would facilitate it. And I'll tell you, after that, I'm rather surprised we're having this conversation, because now I know how people die in fires.
Right.
I made 4 trips up to extinguish with a pan of water, a bucket of water to extinguish that fire. It was actually traveling up the wall in the bathroom, and somebody put a cigarette out, or thought it was out. And I remember when I went up, my strength just left me. I opened my bedroom and it was like smoke. I could see the outline of the window.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to go down. I couldn't breathe in and I couldn't breathe out. I started to go down. All my strength had left me. If I had fallen on that floor, that would have been it for me. I could not have pushed myself up. I used up all my strength putting out the fire. So I just threw the bucket toward the fire, and then I felt my way down to the bottom of the stairs. And in the meantime, the lady of the house had gone back in and sat on the couch and lit up a cigarette to calm her nerves. Something kind of, odd to me. But I told her to stay on that porch. And then I didn't know if I could survive this, because I wasn't breathing in, I wasn't breathing out. I thought my heart would give out. So I made my way to that car, made the call I needed to make, and just sat there until I said, I can't even drive myself to the hospital.
Right.
I don't know. I can hardly dial now, but press the buttons. But I was all right in a few minutes. Of course, all the fire trucks showed up, and remember the fire marshal was there, and he's also the chief of police. He said, "Well, what happened?" Because I looked, a blackened face and all that, but I could breathe. EMTs checked me out. They said, "You got a lot of soot in there, but your lungs are okay." And he said, "Well, what really happened?" I said, "Well, it was Ash Wednesday." And I said, 26th of February. And I said, "Well, I was thinking of getting the imposition of ashes, but now it seems rather counterproductive." I guess that was to show him I was all right, And so he came out, the firefighters, they said, the fire marshals, the chief said, "I don't know how this house is still standing. I don't know how it is." And the fire chief came back and he said, "You're a hero. You unquestionably saved this house and that woman's life." But really, I didn't have time to contemplate it. It just seemed like the right thing to do. There was nothing like, "I'm brave, I can do this." I was like, "No, I'm desperate. I got to take action. I don't have time to think about it." So I've had some outstanding moments like that, but and that applies to demonology. Sometimes you do what has to be done, and not knowing what's going to happen. Give me time to think about it, I probably wouldn't be heroic. But okay, have you ever experienced a skinwalker? I've seen some strange things, a shadow person, but I don't think it was a skinwalker per se. Those spook me, the skinwalker thing, because they're described as being very slender, like Slender Man, a fictitious Slender Man, and they're just walk strange, and they're sometimes seen in deserts. I have not, to my knowledge, experienced one unless I saw a shadow person and it was a skinwalker. So I don't know. I'd like to. I don't think I want to be alone when I do, because there's something about this tall stick figure actually in motion. It's like, oh, what are you? I think these things are transdimensional. I think there's some type of or types of ultra terrestrials.
Yeah.
They come from another reality parallel with ours, but so close that they can cross over.
Right.
Yeah. So this is a perfect
Intentionally or otherwise.
to really talk about your Panorama Paranormal, because I know from what I'm reading, I mean, you do dive into cryptozoology and
Panorama will,
and all that fun stuff. So yeah. So here's the question about Bigfoot.
Okay. Yeah, I was a Bigfoot researcher for a few years. I mean, I did other things, but I never got paid for it. But yeah, I got paid for a lecture a couple of times. But yeah, Bigfoot. Oh, my answer is not popular with either the Bigfoot enthusiast or the skeptics, because yes, Bigfoot is real, but it's a modern myth, and all myths were one time embraced as reality. So yeah, yesterday's
Yeah.
yesterday's creature becomes tomorrow's myth, or it can go the other way. I think Bigfoot is real. I've heard it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it. I've talked to very credible eyewitnesses who had nothing to gain by telling me these stories. In fact, some didn't want to be named. But I think it will never be caught. They'll never have a viable specimen. There are bits and pieces of Bigfoot sometimes, and DNA that's, turns out to be blood samples that are, some kind of primate, and then everybody, but not classified as any known species. And everybody forgets about it after a while. It goes on a TV show, and then nobody thinks about it after a while.
Right.
I just don't think it will ever be proven. There's something strange about it. It's rather mystical. That may go in back and forth. It seems to be a living creature. I've heard vocalizations of a Bigfoot. They speak. Some of them do. Ron Moorhead in the Sierra Mountain Range was recorded some actual conversations with Bigfoot, with speaking to each other and then calling out to the researchers. They're very convincing, and I've talked to Mr. Moorhead in person a couple of times. I just don't think it could. There's something about Bigfoot. It defies logic. It's real. It will never be proven. I just got that feeling. It's a modern myth. Real
interdimensional.
Interdimensional,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got to read this one if you'll indulge me.
You said it was real.
Wendy Clark. Sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm a big mouth, lol. But have you heard of the crying boy picture? You think it has a spirit attached to it? No, I have not heard of that. Or if maybe briefly, it sounds rather familiar, but I don't know what it is. The crying boy picture. I know there are disembodied voices. I've heard plenty of them, especially when I was employed at Slater Mill site for 14 years. By the way, I need to update my biograph because I'm no longer working at Slater Mill. Slater Mill went out of business. Well, they've been acquired by the National Park Service, so hopefully we'll reopen at some point, but it won't be with the docents and tour guides and staff that was there before, including myself. But I heard plenty of disembodied voices there, and sometimes a picture can seem to make noise. Sometimes you're looking at a picture and you hear it speak. In Slater Mill, we used to, not associated with a picture, definitely, but we used to hear a disembodied voice saying, hello, hello. And those mills, including Slater Mill, were notorious for child labor. So, I would hear a woman weeping in those buildings. Yeah. So it's quite feasible that a picture could have an attachment that makes it weep. But tell me more about it. It's interesting.
Well, she needs to tell you about her Danny DeVito pillow.
Yeah, she should clue me in. Okay. Did you want me to read another one?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, you can read.
Aren't you glad I'm in good voice tonight? Clear my throat so much that I lost my voice. Carl, I'm also a Christian. Spoken words and intent along with faith. Are these the foundation for expelling harmful or unwanted spirits by being a conduit for the love and grace of God? Yes. Yes, I would say so. You got to do your homework. You got to steel yourself, and God's not going to do it all for you. However, God is defined. But I would say that's pretty much a simple yes to that question.
Oh,
you can be a conduit for something higher than yourself. And that's it's kept me coming back, because I feel I'm not always doing it on my own. Just when I'm tired and I just, I know it's 2 a.m. I don't want to do this investigation thing anymore. Now it's getting freaky, and, something else kicks in. And that's, where you feel like, hey, I'm here for a good purpose. I'm not going it alone. I've got someone bigger on my side. And I won't understand it, but yeah, I pray in tricky situations, which is probably why I'm feeling as well as I do.
Right.
2 nights ago was pretty horrendous. Well, inconvenient, let's say.
All right. Well, what about disclosure on the UFO front?
I knew you were going to go there.
Well, I can't talk about UFOs because then I'll see the men outside or around my car, the men dressed with white faces, dressed in black, and then my bank account will be shut down, and I will start getting warnings. I'm just making that up, of course. But
we thought that too, but it never happened. So
yeah, I wonder if one is a UFO researcher, and usually, they can join MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, and have, persons to discuss these matters with. But I wonder if it's true. There are case histories of this where somebody hits on something that's a little too real, and they start to get the threats. Don't talk about it. I've gotten away from thinking these are space aliens. Could be, nice thought, but because of the vast distances, unless they can, utilize a wormhole or something. But I think they're more ultra terrestrial. They're not so far from us.
Right.
In the ocean.
The government or governments know something that they're not telling. That much is certain. These things are out there. They're seen by too many people.
Right.
There are abductions. There are sightings. I know easily a dozen people who have seen, and they aren't the kind of people you think would be UFO buffs by any means. They've seen something very strange in the sky. The government isn't telling us something they don't want us to know. They feel we're not ready, or we're in sight of panic, or maybe they just want to benefit from it, or maybe it is some division of the government, but it's something beyond our technology. Some persons have said, GPS global positioning system came from UFO technology from a crashed craft.
Right.
I don't know. I think we're pretty smart, and some of us are, but I just can't program them very well.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah, there's something to it. There is a race or a system of beings prevalent throughout our planet, and we're under surveillance. For what purpose, we can't know.
Right.
If they were hostile to us, I mean, they could wipe us out by, they could create and synthesize some virus that would, pervade the world. Oh, wait a minute. We have something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there is do I call them a species, a race, aliens? There's something that is very interested in us.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's symbiotic. They're associated with us. We are with them. And I think if somebody does tap too close, just getting disturbingly close to the truth, that they are going to start finding things. There's going to be intervention. They're going to be threatened. They're going to be warned to leave it alone.
Right.
Personally, if I had such experiences with these nether beings, I would go along with it. I would keep my mouth shut about it. For one thing, I'm a demonologist, and who's going to believe me if I start saying I've seen UFO people? I talk with them, these guys. I mean, it's like, look what he's into now.
Right.
But if I start, then it's true. Yeah. But I would accede to the pressure. I would not talk about it. It would be enough for my own edification that I knew a little bit.
Right.
Because I know next to nothing about it. Just case histories and reports from people. I guarantee you there is something pervading our society. There's some presence that hovers around us, infiltrates us, and does not want to be revealed. And why isn't everybody talking about the UFOs and the UFO people? Because like most phenomena, it happens. There's an it's a kind of a stir about it, not an uproar, but it's a stir about it. And then people go back about their lives with amnesia. We can't live wondering about UFOs, or about space aliens. So we just go back to our normal lives and, oh, that was something. I mean, there have been so many times that unexplainable crafts have been seen going over the sky, even before there was, photography or anything. You couldn't take pictures of these. They show up in Renaissance paintings. They've always been talked about.
Right.
And we just go about our business. It's not going to create any big upheaval. 3/4 of the people don't believe they happened anyway.
Right. Exactly.
But there is something. There's something out there, and I would like to know more about it. Yeah. Jimmy Carter said he'd like to know more about it. Bill Clinton said he'd like to know more about it. I think they keep presidents in the dark for. Yeah.
Good
I don't
reason.
think Donald Trump ever cared about them very much.
Yeah. We do have a question.
Oh, yes. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. Jack, can you go back a little bit? So Mike the Bigfoot, his son is on, Jeremiah. He had a question on fairies. If you believe that they are demonic in nature.
No, but I think they're real. I don't think they're demonic. I don't think they're harmful to us. I mean, maybe some demons don't hate us and aren't harmful, but we never hear it from them. But fairies, yeah, they're elemental spirits. They're another race, another system of beings that inhabit our planet. And I don't think like the Cottingale fairies. I don't think they have wings and they're delicate little Tinkerbells. But they're another race. They're only semi-physical. They come and go. They can vanish because they're here and yet not here some of the times. And there are various manifestations from them. There are the robber sprites. There are, gremlins. There are, one malevolent species you could call fairies, the Pukwudgie in Native American law.
I think
we talked about that. Yeah. Yep.
We did a whole episode on gnomes. And so
gnomes is another one. The gnome is supposed to be an earth spirit associated with earth. There are sylphs and undines. Salamanders are associated with fire. Undines are the water. Gnome is the earth. Yeah. So I don't know what to say about them except I believe they're real because I've seen enough pictures from credible witnesses. My friend and colleague Andrew Lake, he runs Greenville Paranormal in Rhode Island. He had a picture to show me of a Pukwudgie. He did a whole spate of research on the Pukwudgies, personal research. So he showed me a picture. Hey, yeah, he's got something there. He's got you can see the eyes. It looks like a malicious leprechaun in a way, but it looks singular and unique. And another friend of mine, that's Nancy Snodgrass, and we met at a conference in Cambridge, Ohio, a Bigfoot conference, and she said she had a picture to show. They thought I was a big deal for some reason. She had a picture to submit to me of a Bigfoot with its family, juveniles. And she said they have beards. I said, well, yeah, of course, I'd like to see that. She showed me this picture, and it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like Bigfoot. That looks like, all I can call them is elementals. You got like elves there. Not cute little elves, but elves. Quasi-human things, like a little monkey-ish, but, just strange things. And so she had a family of them.
Explain an elemental. I mean, you're a definition of an elemental.
An elemental is a spirit associated with the terrestrial, with the earth, and they are energy forms. They're not of human origin.
Right.
They proceed from the earth. They are created from the earth, and they have an awareness to them. And we classify them in folklore as fairies or as gnomes, but they can control the elements of the earth or they can influence the elements of the earth. I don't think they could stop a flood, but they could, control rain or weather conditions, wind and things. They seem to have that propensity. They can, control elements or influence elements. And I'm hesitating because I don't know what I can really say about them, except that these things are sighted. We call them elementals for lack of a more clinical term. There's something, but there's something not to mess with. They say if you're out in the woods and there's an elemental presence, don't talk with it, don't interact with it, because it can lead you astray. I've talked to people that have experienced that, where suddenly they're on a path and they're paying attention. If it's not blazed, if there isn't marked, suddenly the person will look up and they don't, or sometimes when it is blazed, when the trail is marked, sometimes the person will look around and they don't know where they are, become disoriented. It's like, how did I get off the track? I didn't get off the track, but I'm lost. And of course then panic sets in. So they always remember that story. Maybe some don't come back, I don't know, but it's thought that elementals can do that, and sometimes they're seen. Some people have seen a little person in the woods. I don't mean a dwarf. I mean a diminutive person,
right?
A human form, and glaring at them. Sometimes it's in a tree. Sometimes it's on a stone wall. and it glares at them. They don't like to be seen either, but sometimes they are unintentionally witnessed. So that's going to throw you off a little bit. So it's fascinating. I'd like to know more about elementals. And
do you believe that the Native American culture make contact with elementals? Do you believe that's in their spiritual beliefs? Maybe.
I don't think skinwalkers would be elementals.
No,
but yeah, I mean, there's what is it? The Pawa? What was the
Pukwudgie? Those guys or something.
Yeah, because that was from. But those are elementals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's Native American called Algonquin origin. Of course, the Celtic Isles in Celtic regions have the leprechauns and the robber sprites and all that. It's humorous note. There was an episode of the series Paranormal State, took place in Penn State. I want to say Penn State Penitentiary, Penn State University. And they had the show called Paranormal State with Ryan Buell and Sergey and their team. And it was so comical. I was contacted by Michelle Belanger. She told me that the series was doing an episode about Pukwudgies, and she wanted all that I could tell her. I gave her a wealth of information about Pukwudgies, and I got, consulted Andrew Lake. I gave her what she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get any credit for it, but that's okay. I helped them out. And then you see the episode. No two, I'll call them cast members, the investigators. No two could say Pukwudgie the same way. Pakawani, the Wudgie ones. There's the word Puka, it's funny. Nobody can say it the same way. That was cute. But
yeah, I just wrote it down and I said Pukwaggie. I don't know.
Pukwaggies. It'd be a nice name for like a poodle or something. Pukwaggie, come here, Pukwaggie.
Yeah, right.
We have a question. This is by,
Christine's got another question.
Harsucher again, 64, Harsucher, Christine. Do you think the veil between our reality and other dimensions are thinning, and that's why people are seeing more spirits, fairies, Bigfoot? Yeah, I do. I have thought that. I've already wondered about that. If it's something, certain prevalent conditions, maybe because there are so many more humans on the planet, maybe there's some rift in the dimensional fabric, but it does seem like it's thinning and these things are coming forward. Maybe because we're so technological on this planet now,
Mm-hmm.
and they, or maybe enough electric and radiation, radioactive power has been generated throughout the substrate of our planet and in the atmosphere. Something's changed with all these humans being on the world. And so, or maybe it's just their time to come through.
Right.
Or maybe it's like the ozone layer. Under certain influences, the ozone layer thins and you get a hole in it.
Right.
So fortunately, we're supposed to be going over to battery powered, but I'm not waiting around to, 2030 or something, but to get mine, I won't be able to afford it. But yeah, it seems like they're coming through. Something's changed. That could get back to the UFOs people coming through.
Right. Exactly.
Or maybe we are approaching critical mass in our society, and they figure it's their time to come through. Remind us that there's something more than we are, than what we see and perceive. So yeah, I do think so. For reasons not explained. But of course, we're the unexplained.
Exactly.
We love the unexplained.
Yes.
We're only coming up on just about 10 more minutes or so, but
going by quickly.
it's crazy. Time just flies.
Goes by so fast.
Well, when you get interesting topics like this, and I can put my 2 cents in on it.
Yeah, I want to go way back though, because we were talking about the house you grew up in and your use of
remember it well.
Spirit board. So I wanted to ask you a question about the spirit board, though. Oh my goodness!
That's all you had to say, wasn't it? Had to say spirit board. Oh.
I know. So, do you think that the spirit board itself could be the portal, and the removal of that spirit board from the house that you grew up in is why perhaps the current owners or, those that occupied it after your family left didn't experience what you experienced?
Well, to some degree, I see that spirit boards, Ouija boards don't spook me. They're just a tool. They are a parlor game, like anything. A person can become obsessed with it. I don't think there's power in the board itself. Having said that, it is ill-advised to burn a spirit board because that angers the spirit. There's supposedly a spirit attached to every spirit board. Mm-hmm. So I've heard of people putting, in fact, there was an episode of a haunting where somebody, was having trouble with their spirit activity in the house, and they threw their Ouija board in the trash. Well, that wasn't enough because it came back.
I saw that
in the house. So basically, no, but sometimes you get a surprise. And, maybe there is something in this board. That haunted house, that situation in Coventry, Rhode Island, where that demonic face manifested. Well, the lady of the house, she came from the old country, the Azores, the islands of Portugal. She and her sister had spirit boards growing up and as young women. 3 of those spirit boards they burned, 7 of them they lost. So you wonder why they had activity there. That's part of it. There are a lot of, it was an intricate web why they had this haunted house. And that was not successfully resolved, but it sure was interesting. They were actually driven out of their house. They couldn't live there anymore. All those manifestations. But it was interesting. I mean, it's not something where we could come in and save them and say there's not going to be any more activity here. Right. It was just too complicated for that. The house was only 22 years old, younger than they. So, but they had a lot of children too, and they had 7 children, and then another one after, that investigation. So you got these children, the strata of ages. Some are adolescents, some are, more infant. And they had a kind of a charged relationship anyway. They would quarrel a lot, and then they'd make up, and then they'd quarrel. So you had this battery just, waiting to manifest. She had her background with the Ouija boards, and the husband came from Guatemala, and they had a spiritual upbringing, or they believe in spirit communication. His people did. So, his family. So, yeah. So sometimes it's associational. The power can be in the board, but people have to believe it is.
Right.
And if somebody's what we call a diehard skeptic, just there's nothing beyond what we can see. Strangely, many of those skeptics are creationists, where they believe, God clapped his hands and here is the universe, but they don't believe in a spirit board or anything moving on its own, or, the dog's barking at anything. There's something we don't see. Somebody like that can actually negate a haunting. They can ruin it. If you really want a ghost cleaned out of your house, just find a skeptic and bring him or her in. Let them stay a weekend. You won't have any activity for a while.
It could come back. Sucker, right?
Unless it's somebody who's kind of borderline believing and denies they do. But if it's just somebody that doesn't do that, and you cannot win an argument with a skeptic. Or you can't win a religious debate, because the person with the opposing view, the skeptic or whatever, they'll always get in the last word, even if that last word is, well. Well, I've been through it with people who just don't believe in any kind of spirit reality. When you're gone, you're gone. There's nothing that remains. But they haven't experienced it, so I can respect that. But right. I've told them, no, I've seen these things. I wasn't sleeping, or I wasn't, wasn't lucid dreaming. I've seen these things. And you always get, well, come on. Well, okay, I guess you won the argument. You get that last word in. Well,
along the lines of, thank you there, Jim.
Is that our Nell?
Okay, I'll say that again. So it goes along the lines of, like, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So
sure is. Yeah.
So a haunting is in the eyes of the believer.
I think so, because most things you can explain away empirically, or you can attribute it to a psychological malfunction. and you get that little core of things you just can't explain away.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the well comes in, is so useful. Well, you just haven't figured it out yet. No, I'm convinced that there is such a thing as paranormal activity. I've experienced far too much not to. Its sources can be debated. But yeah, somebody believes or they don't, if they're comfortable with it. Now, I can certainly respect and like somebody's view if they say, "Oh, I just haven't experienced it. That's why I don't believe in it." Fine, I wouldn't either. It's pretty strange stuff.
I mean, the reason that we do it is because we want to experience it.
Right.
I mean, people have experiences, and so if the only way
if it wasn't fascinating, we wouldn't bother with
have that same experience. So
you're right. Do you remember that song? I believe in angels. I had a dream. Yes, I do. I don't understand angels either. I don't understand angels any more than I understand demons, except demons could proceed from our psyche. I only I believe in angels. I was brought up to believe in angels, and it's a very comforting thought. I don't pray to angels, but I certainly ask for their help sometimes. And I know somebody who had an angelic encounter, and she convinced me. I had no reason to doubt her because she'd only told me about it. Maybe a girlfriend or something. That she went to a store. She lived in Narragansett, Rhode Island, and she was a team member for a time. So she told me that years before she was looking for something for her grandmother. As a little grandmother used to be, I think it was that her grandmother was a ballerina when she was young. So she was looking for something exquisite, some little ballerina figurine. So she went into a store, and the proprietor said, "No, I'm sorry, we don't have anything like that. You could try another store." So and an elderly man, small elderly man, came up to her and said, "Dear, I think I have what you're looking for. Let me go into the back room." And he came out with this exquisite little ballerina. And she said, "That's just what my grandmother would want because, it's unique." He said, "No, this is one of a kind. You won't find another one. They don't make these anymore." So she brought that home. And her grandmother was so pleased by this figurine that Laura went back to the store to thank the elderly gentleman. And the store owner said, "No, we don't." Store manager said, "No, there's nobody here that, is like that." But she said, "Well, you must have a sale. You must have that recorded." I said, "Well, we probably do, but there's no little old man that you're talking about. No elderly person was working here."
Huh.
Now that to me is angelic, and I can't say that without a lot of emotion,
right?
Because she was a very special lady. And the way she told that story, you would believe in innocence again, despite this world as it is. That's a precious memory. Her telling me that story.
Huh.
And it can't be repeated by her because she's no longer with us, but that makes the memory all the more precious.
Right.
Sure. Wow. We've
covered a lot of ground here tonight, haven't we?
We really have.
We really have.
Well, we're just scratching the surface. I hope you'll have me on again.
Absolutely.
We would love to have you on again.
Absolutely.
I may be able to make an appearance with my compadre, with Elise Gianmarco Carlson, my partner in my para partner, my partner in Panorama Paranormal. And,
yeah. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be a whole episode talking about your panorama.
Yeah.
Paranormal thing.
How's that, Keith? Panorama Paranormal. My partner in Panorama Paranormal.
I like that.
Yeah, she's a wonderful speaker, I think. She's very interesting. She is president of the Johnston Historical Society here in Johnston, Rhode Island. Actually, I'm coming to you from the headquarters of the Johnston Historical Society. She's a terrific researcher. She's a cemetery conservator. She curates a small museum. And I don't think I could say enough good about Elise, but she's the brains, she's the stamina.
I
can be brainy too. But she's charming, you know, funny. She knows when to shut me up, you know. And yeah, or James Anito, you know, who I mentioned, the founder or the co-founder of Duo Demonology. It's his brainchild. Or my twin brother, Keith Johnson. Now, Keith is a religious demonologist. So while our methodology is very similar and our research methods are, you might, you might find some differences in concepts of origins from Keith, my brother. So, you know, I could bring some interesting colleagues on too, if I may. But I tell you first.
That would be a whole show.
Yeah, it really would.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Well, I would hope that our plans, you know, eventually are to be able to get around the country and investigate some really cool places. And, you know, if we ever can get it arranged to do the Harrison property.
The Harrisville, you mean? Like the
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can arrange that.
To have you be our guide.
Yeah.
Oh, I would so enjoy. I'd like to meet you in person. It's the Round Top Farmhouse along Round Top Road in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Again, built in 1736, and it doesn't disappoint. You can't guarantee there'll be something paranormal, but
we've been on plenty of
investigations,
so we know.
I can guarantee you'll get something paranormal. You will. You will. And they're just such congenial, wonderful people, Corey and Jennifer Heinzen, who now own that house. And they went into it knowing it's a haunted house. You know, and of course it's not a free visitation if you're going to investigate, but it's reasonable as these things go. You know. And that's why I was there 3 weeks ago. I had guests from Illinois, and they were so happy with that. And while we're sitting around the table talking, and Elise was with us, you know, we heard a disembodied voice, heard scurrying footsteps. That's just a little bonus after they got an excellent tour.
Yeah, that would be a blast to do.
That would be awesome.
So let me know when you're planning to be in town. That'll be one of our stops. There are several.
That would be cool.
There's Vampire's Grave in Exeter, Rhode Island. That's a whole nother story.
We'll have to bring Wendy with us.
She wouldn't let us go without her.
It would be a good addition. She popped up. Oh my God, if I could. Oh my God, if we could meet you, Carl, and investigate with you, it would be a dream for me and my sister and the guys in the team. Fairy tales can come true. It could happen to you. No, it would be my pleasure. It'd be my honor to investigate with you, Wendy. Sure. You know, we can an exchange of ideas and and investigation methods, of course. Yeah, I mean, these things really can. Well, my guest of 3 weeks ago, I'd met them at a talk show, and I said, if you're ever out here, we'll do something. We'll get together. Well, they took me seriously, and they came here. And they had a good time at Rhode Island. There are several very haunted places I showed them. I mean, I didn't think we'd get any actual activity until we went to the house in Harrisville, and yeah, we did. So they had a good time, though. We just bonded. So these things do happen. We can get together.
All right.
As long as you can get in touch with me. I mean, I'm somewhat on Facebook, not every day, but
we got your number.
There's Panorama Paranormal has a page on Facebook. The website for Duo Demonology is it's not spelled the old-fashioned way. Duo Demonology is spelled D-A-E and then I-E at the end, the old-fashioned way. But Duo Demonology is just www.demonology.com. .org rather. Demonology.org. And I have a website through Demonology Incorporated, and then you can, if you find a copy of Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook, that website address, the handle is in that. You can find Demonology, Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook in some Barnes and Noble stores right on the shelf. It can be ordered through Amazon.com, as can most things and most people. And
we'll place these.
Get a copy from the author.
We'll place those links along with the video. I think we can do that. In the description, right? So,
or contact The Truth About Beer and The Unexplained, and they will hook you up with me if you can't find me any other way.
Absolutely. beyond.
I'm probably the only Carl L. Johnson in the state of Rhode Island who's listed as a demonologist. So you can find me on Facebook that way too. Or again, Panorama Paranormal. Look us up. You find us on Facebook.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, we want to thank you, Carl, for joining us tonight.
I thank you for this opportunity. It's been my pleasure. And just talking to you, it's like being on some of the paranormal shows during an investigation. I kind of forget we're on a show and I'm just talking to you across the table. I said, oh, wait a minute. There's a reason. There's a screen.
Oh, see, Jack's kind of poking around, so I got to let him know he needs to go back to us before we go to the end. We're working in a new producer tonight, and he's doing an awesome job.
Well,
bring yourself back. Just say hi.
Hello.
Well, we're talking about.
Oh, that sounded like a picture.
Oh, my picture. No.
No.
There you go.
There he is.
Yes.
Back
He's
in
inverted, but we see him. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, there. He does look like a producer. Yeah. Hi there.
Hello. How you doing,
Control
Carl?
room.
Very interesting stuff. I've had to bite my tongue back here quite a lot.
Oh, yeah. He wanted to jump in or shut me off or something.
Well, this is why they put me back here, is because I talk too much. So just monkey. So okay, fine.
Well, the gentleman looks like he looks somewhat like Corey Heinzen, who owns the Conjuring House.
Oh,
There's a resemblance there.
I don't think he has as many tattoos, though.
No.
No.
Not tatted up.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, yeah. Corey's got a few here and there.
Yeah.
U.S. Marine Corps, a few others,
yeah.
And his wife, Jennifer Heinzen, the co-owner of the house in Harrisville. It's just easier to say the Conjuring House, but the house in Harrisville. She bears a striking resemblance to Carolyn Perrin when Carolyn was younger.
Really?
Oh, really?
As the co-owner with Roger Perrin. She really, you look at photographs and go, oh my, you guys got to be related. Yeah. They look very much alike. Same height and weight and face, same, hair. They look alike.
Yeah.
That's very
That
interesting.
probably adds to the activity.
Yeah, no, if only Corey looked more like, or looked anything like Roger Perrin, that'd be like an eerie reincarnation scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But I think the house is comfortable with them because she does look like Carolyn, the former homeowners
True.
of decades ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Well, awesome.
all right.
Well, we thank you again, and
Yeah.
we definitely set up another show with you and your other guests.
Please do. I'll be on next week, a month from now, whenever you'd like me back. We'll align our respective schedules and
Absolutely.
see if I can bring a cohort, a very interesting cohort, though.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, would love to meet her.
Yeah,
Have to get
and she
brother
is
on,
that.
too. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
She's rather easy on the eyes too, but I'm sure she wouldn't want me saying that. You'd see that when you meet her, or see her on your show. Marissa Tomei. Remember my cousin Vinny with Joe Pesci?
Yeah.
Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
That's Elise.
Okay. Yeah, that's
She has a North Providence accent. And,
that would be good.
But as far as how they look, what can I say about Elise? She's just interesting. She's got a martial arts background. Studied that intensely for 7 years.
We'll tread lightly.
Yeah. And she's a brainy chick. What can I say? And an interesting one. Those two don't always go together, but she's brainy and interesting.
Well, that ought to be fun. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
you better be
If she's
careful.
heard all of this broadcast, she'll say, "Why'd you talk about me? Because you're not here to stop me."
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well,
Whoops.
what happened?
Yep.
I'm here.
Pretty
Well,
close.
that way I can say goodbye visually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, safe journey home.
Yes,
mile-
these file cabinets might not even be here next time because Elise is going to do some rearranging here.
Ah.
Okay.
Hopefully not alone. I won't recognize the place when she's done.
Right.
Yes. Well, this is a woman who can, shatter a concrete block. So I think she can move a file cabinet.
Probably.
I wouldn't tell her she could.
No, I wouldn't tell her she couldn't either. She may make too many changes. Like, I don't know this place anymore. But it'll be a better system when she does. There are documents in here from the 1750s in some of these cabinets,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's archival material here.
Cool.
That's why it's the Johnston Historical Society.
Yep.
You're getting a lot of love from our viewers tonight. So,
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's been my pleasure. I've just been, going off and talking a lot, like just very conversation. Bye. Keep in touch with me. That's what you can do. Great show. Thank you.
Absolutely. We definitely will. We're definitely going to set up another show here pretty quick, I think.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like Romper Room. I see you, Wendy. I see,
Right.
We did the thing on mirrors last week.
Right.
From the
mirrors?
Yeah. Well, we had a show on mirrors last week. So.
Was it a paranormal theme? I think
well,
it was. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, because you could brought up Romper Room with the mirror thing. So
yeah.
Do I have time to Romper Stopper Bumper Boo? Do I have time to tell you a really quick mirror story? I was in the country.
I remember my Romper Bumper Stopper Boo thing.
Yeah. When they Elise and I were invited to the house in Round Top, farmhouse. When Jen and Corey Heinzen had the signing, the closing of the house. We were invited that day in June of 2019. And I hadn't been in the house in, some years, not like 40 years, but it had been some years since I'd been there, like 8 years. And there was a mirror hanging in the what's now a parlor room, used to be the kitchen. I said, by gum, that's the same mirror. I think that was here when the parents owned the house. Let me go look at that. And so I looked in the mirror. This is true. I saw myself as I looked when I was 18 years of age.
Oh, wow.
My reflection, I experimented. My reflection was moving with me. I had my red polo shirt on, but I had shoulder length, reddish blonde hair, and just looked younger, just, I was me when I was 18. Wow. The house remembered me, it seemed. I knew if I called for Elise or Corey or Jen that it would stop when they came in. It's not going to last. Let me just enjoy this. So for about 90 seconds, I watched that. I said, I know I'm seeing this. I'm not going to think that I was delusional or it's any trick of the lighting. I'm watching this now. I'm memorizing it. There's no way I can take a picture of it. I doubt anybody else is going to see it. That's the only time it's happened with that mirror.
That's crazy.
I tried it one other time and my features seemed to distort a little bit, but I didn't turn young. Huh. You know what a bummer it was when I went to the bathroom. They have this long mirror there. Like, no. Whatever happened to Baby Jane? It's like, yeah, I can see there's been some change. But I honestly did. What a freaky and singular experience to actually look at not just a photograph or a movie, but see myself when I was 18. I think it had to have something to do with me, the impact I made on that house somewhat.
Well, I remember you made a comment in that Ghost Adventures episode, is that in the spirit realm, time is non-existent.
Right. It's not the same thing. It's
not the same thing. So
it's not linear time where you can jump back. Yeah, I mean, you can jump back and forth in a way in the spirit realm. Time, they're sometimes frozen in time or little increments of time. There's a story, experience that Carolyn Perrin had. She walked into the dining room, what was then the dining room, and she saw men seated at a table dressed in very old-fashioned clothing. They looked at her with astonishment, and then they faded. They went. So she was the ghost to them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For a while, like, who's this skinny, pretty chick in shorts, short pants, pants without legs? What is this?
That makes it
without leggings. And, but she saw them. It was a time displacement.
Yeah.
I believe her experience was genuine, as mine certainly was.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is. So look in that magic mirror if you get there.
Yep.
Maybe delightfully surprised. Or it may age you. I don't know what your experience will be.
True.
Wow. All right. Well, this has been so fun.
We could go on forever.
That's why we probably went half an hour, 20 minutes or half an hour over our time a lot.
Well, hopefully the roads won't be too icy for you.
No, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take the full 10 minutes to get back or so. If I can get up the driveway, that'll be gold. That'll be good.
Good deal.
All right. Well, it was really a pleasure having you on, Carl. It really
big
was.
Time.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been my pleasure as well, obviously. And I do have me back. Don't forget me.
Well, absolutely we will.
Yeah. If you had a drink in your hand, would say
And
cheers.
I'll have a companion, and I'll have more pictures for you.
Nice. We look forward to that.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Well, be safe.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
And it
I
is
shall.
cheers
You
anyway.
can touch everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
We'll see ya. Bye.
Thanks, Carl. Oh,
I could talk to him all night.
I know.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, that was wow, that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Wow. Where do we go?
I know. Where do we go from there? You got an idea, Jack?
Yeah, it's a small one.
Share it with us, will you?
Don't have time.
Oh, okay.
I think next week we're back to our hunt show, huh?
Yeah. Next week's the Hunt Show. And please join us for that because it'll be a lot of fun. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but
Don't we have a new episode
it'll
coming
be
out?
engaging.
week?
Yeah. So that'll be a week from this Friday. We'll have a new episode coming out.
I guess I better finish that.
If it's going to be released, I guess we better
We
finish it.
probably better finish it.
Yeah. And it's a paranormal investigation.
Part of our Booze and Brews.
Yeah.
New series.
The haunted bar. And we got some pretty cool evidence to share with you on that one.
We did.
Ready for the end?
The end of what? The end of time? The end of man?
I don't know.
All right. So as always, we're gonna roll our para family, and then we will take you guys out.
Oh, that sounds so final.
I know I shouldn't say that. Huh? It's kind of bad.
We'll temporarily leave you till next week.
Until next week. So until next time.
Yeah,
This has been
no. I'm
Who
sorry.
are you guys?
Go ahead.
Paranormal Talk.
See, you saved me because I was going to blow it.
You were
So
gonna say, huh?
this has been Paranormal Talk with Carl L. Johnson. Carl L.
L.
Johnson.
Yep.
I just like to run it all there. Carl Johnson.
We hope you guys enjoyed it. But until next time, until next week.
Yeah. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. We'll see you.
you are wondering where to find the Truth About Beer and merchandise, you've come to the right place. BS Designs has all the merch you've been looking for, from t-shirts and koozies to the very collectible The Truth About Beer and themed gnomes. Visit BS Designs today.
Whether you're an aspiring paranormal enthusiast or a seasoned professional, or perhaps you're just looking to add to your equipment inventory, look no further than Ghost Hunters Outlet. They have all your equipment needs. For a limited time, mention the word beer in the promotional code for additional savings. And be sure to watch The Truth About Beer and on YouTube.
Welcome to the Truth About Beer